The information in this video is hardly present in the public media and has not been proven by official or scientific sources. Some of it is currently classified as pseudoscience and esotericism. However, this by no means implies that we shouldn't listen to all of this. The Nexus magazine reports on the lecture by the cotton planter and businessman David Hudson from Phoenix, Arizona. Lecture held in Portland, Oregon. David Hudson comes from a conservative family and manages about 28 hectares. The wealthy man conducted an analysis of natural substances in the area in 1975. The sodium-rich soil, where water can hardly penetrate, is a problem. He bought 93% sulfuric acid from the copper mines in Arizona, which is an extremely high concentration. He spread tons of it on his property. Due to the sulfuric acid reaction, the ground started to blister and foam. Black alkali was converted into white alkali. Because of its water solubility, he was able to farm again. He tried to find out how much iron there was in the soil in order to improve it. During these very analyses, he came across substances that no one could explain what they were. They examined this substance. After they diluted it, a solution came out that was blood red. When they precipitated the material chemically, using zinc powder as a reducing agent, the material came out as a black precipitate, just as you would expect with a noble metal. A noble metal does not dissolve back into acid once you have chemically removed it from the acid. After further investigations, commercial laboratories told him that it was nothing other than gold and silver. However, these had strange properties. It shattered like glass when you hit it with a hammer. But an alloy of gold and silver should be able to be hammered flat if nothing else is contained in it. He separated the gold and silver, and a pile of black stuff remained, which he had examined in laboratories. This time they told him that it was iron, silicon, and aluminum. But based on its properties, it couldn't be the case, because according to his investigations, it was insoluble in any acids. Researchers from Cornell University brought it to the lab and were able to tell him what it is, because it is not chlorine, bromine, or one of the lighter elements. He spent a lot of money on the investigation, and the experts at the time concluded that it was not any of the elements on the periodic table. You can find a detailed description of what exactly happened in various laboratories in Nexus magazine. David says that the analyses produced results that were physically impossible. According to a doctoral physics student at the time, the physics books would need to be rewritten. Several researchers confirmed the unusual properties. Something was different here. In 1988, he applied for a patent for orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements with a newly arranged electron orbit. For short, Ormes. Monoatomic gold, also known as Ormes, MFKTZ monatomic gold, and so on. It is said to have the property of consisting of individual atoms without atomic bonding. They had Orm gold, Orm palladium, Orm iridium, Orm ruthenium, etc. The lack of bonding between the individual atoms is considered a new state of matter. It is also called the monoatomic state or M state. When the patent office wanted more detailed information about the material, they examined it with a machine called thermogravimetric analysis. In this process, the entire atmosphere of the sample is controlled. Strange results were obtained. Hudson reports, "We heated the material by 1.2 degrees per minute and cooled it down by 2 degrees per minute. We found that the material weighs 102% when oxidized, and it weighs 103% when the hydrogen is reduced. So far so good, no problem, but when it turns snow white, it weighs 55%. That really shouldn't be possible. When you anneal the material and it turns white, it only weighs 55% of its original weight. When you put it on a quartz scale, it weighs 56%. When you heat it to the point where it melts into the glass, it turns black, and all the weight returns. So the material didn't just vanish into thin air. It was still there. It just couldn't be weighed anymore. That was the point when everyone said, that's just not right. It just can't be right. You know, when we heated and cooled it again and again under helium and argon, when we cooled it, it weighed 300 to 400% of its original weight, and when we heated it, it actually weighed less than nothing. When it wasn't in the pan weighed more than it did when this substance was still in it. Is something like that possible? David is starting to get into physics and even has his own explanations. But he is pondering something that will be significant for future generations. What would happen if we gave this material to a human? Since it is not a metal-metal compound, it also does not have any heavy metal properties. According to various tests, he is said to have healed dying people. He said about this material is not an anti-whatever medication. It's not anti-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, it's not anti-cancer, it's pro-life. It is literally spirit. This material is not here to cure acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It is not here to cure cancer. The material is here to perfect our body. It causes our body to reach the state it is actually supposed to be in. It is our own immune system that fights and heals the disease. If we can correct our DNA in every cell in the body, if we can repair the damage that has occurred and triggered cancer or damage caused by viruses and acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, we will literally become perfect beings. We will return to the original healthy state in which we all should actually be. This is not a medication. This material is actually a philosophical material. It is here to enlighten us and to expand the consciousness of humanity. If it also happens to heal diseases along the way, then so be it. Most of us find it difficult to grasp its true mode of action. In summary, one can say that Hudson believed that monoatomic elements have anti-gravitational properties, meaning they lose 55% of their weight and can change their weight depending on magnetic fields, have superconductive properties at normal room temperature, make up 5% of the brain mass of animals, have healing effects, have no side effects or toxic effects, despite the fact that they are heavy metals. And so on. He often quoted the local rabbi in Arizona. He believed that the Hebrews knew there was a white form of gold, but that this information was lost with the destruction of the first Jewish temple in Jerusalem. Did David Hudson really have this chemical state, or did the science of the time simply lack the necessary knowledge to unravel the whole mystery? It would be interesting if today's scientists took a closer look at this case. We are not experts in these fields. We are only passing on the traditions. If you look at the life of Prophet Musa, there are plenty of interesting things that happened. But we focus our attention on what happened after the escape from Pharaoh. The Israelites who stayed with him had accepted his guidance. Among other things, they had seen how Moses parted the sea, which allowed them and him to escape, but Pharaoh and his men drowned. After some other events, they were traveling in the desert at some point. There is a severe lack of food there. They demanded various things from the prophet. The prophet prays to God, and through a miracle, 12 springs of water begin to gush forth in the middle of the desert. But beyond that, there is mention of a very interesting food that saved the Israelites from starvation during their journey. Through the prayers of Moses, God gave them quails and the so-called manna. We know what quails are, but what exactly was manna? Dozens of people from all over the world still ask themselves this question today. When the layer of dew lifted, there was something fine on the desert ground, fine like frost. On the ground, as it is written in the Bible. In Christianity and Judaism, it is also called bread from heaven. This event and this food are also mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah in the Quran. The Israelites were also no longer satisfied with it at some point. They showed ingratitude, did not stand by the prophets, and spent another 40 years in the desert. Due to the discoveries at certain places where the Prophet and the Israelites were, it is often claimed today that manna is monoatomic gold. A well-known discovery in this area, which is associated with all of this, is the one made by Sir William Flinders Petrie on the Sinai Peninsula at Mount Serabit. He is said to have discovered large amounts of white powder, which today is believed to be monoatomic elements. Spencer Cross claims in his book The Great Pyramid, A Factory for Monoatomic Gold, that monoatomic gold was produced in the Great Pyramid of Giza like in a factory. He also shares production details. Some even go so far as to claim that the pyramids could have been built using the anti-gravitational properties of the material. A recipe given by the gods, or a substance already known before the event. It hasn't been proven whether such substances even exist, let alone with such properties. Let alone that this substance is the food the Israelites ate thousands of years ago. Today, people almost advertise the pineal gland with magical properties, considering its activation indispensable. If that's true, as we learned in the last video, we know what that would mean for our body. The Freemasons are accused because of their origins of still possessing this knowledge about this mysterious food. Also in this context, some circles claim that cancer is almost an exception in Israel. This theory is quite popular but lacks supporting evidence. This myth of low cancer mortality in Israel was spread by the German doctor and miracle healer Rik Gerd-Hamer. He and his followers of Germanic New Medicine believed that cancer mortality in Israel was extremely low. In an open letter, he quoted a newsletter from the Israeli embassy. This is not made up, you can check it yourself in the archive. It says there that in 2003 only 160 people died of cancer in Israel, and in 2004 152 people. Hammer quoted this verbatim. But apparently it was about the internationally standardized mortality rate, which refers to 100,000 inhabitants per year. They didn't mention again that it was meant per 100,000 inhabitants. Later, this issue was corrected. The statistics from the World Health Organization also contradict Hamer's claim. According to their data, there were 9,280 total deaths in Israel in 2004. He was accused of anti-Semitic agitation. There are many astonishing claims on the table. Remnants from scientifically inexplicable religious events motivate both experts and laypeople to conduct research. A curious person who finds himself right in the middle should take care to observe the commotion cautiously. Because, as we've often seen on this channel, the official truth can be reshaped. Through discoveries that were never thought possible because they came from stories that were too far removed from our current reality.